Alex?
Yeah, I'm good. And you?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, in these odd times that we're in. Yeah, I'm not painting. I'm drawing instead. So, as you know, I normally am at race circuits, creating and painting and doing very large artworks of things such as your car, like that one last year or 2 years ago now. That was your winning car when you won the Diamond Jubilee event at Stetterton, which was wicked.
Your big drawings up in our office wall, mate.
Yes, so I was told there's a video I need to watch. I've seen them. So yeah, that obviously this is a print of that original, but that was the 60th anniversary win in the 60th anniversary year at Stetterton. So yeah, so I'm drawing instead because I am trained as an illustrator. That's what I did when I was at college. So for the last 5 weeks tomorrow, I've been doing drawings consistently every day. So we're now up to 228 drawings of pretty much everything, and some Hondas in there as well. So we've had Integras and we've had Civic Type R first generation.
I bet the shares in Sharpie have gone up dramatically.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, if you look at some of the first videos we did, like it's just like a pot of pens, like what, and now it's just a table full of pens. So yeah, it's I've had to diversify and get as many pens as I could, really. And then we're thought we'll do your new car that's obviously only been on track at press day, really. But this is it in the workshop, I believe, prior to test day. So. And it's obviously got a lot of branding, so it's going to be really hard for me to do. But that's fine. I'm happy to do that. So generally, what happens is I'll start drawing. So how continuous car drawings work is you put the pen down and then you draw a continuous line until the whole of the outline is done, and then I start working back into it. And in about a 40-minute window, 30 to 40 minutes. I should finish it, so you'll have a finished artwork, all going to plan. So in between that, but for me to kind of enjoy this process even more, to talk to you about your career, you can talk about dynamics, talk about Honda, talk about how many years have you been in touring car now?
A few. This would have been my 30th year. This would have been my
30 years. Year. Wow. I mean, I remember. Watching you in the old the 100+ livery on the Primera. I remember that. Yeah, so I remember that vividly. So yeah, to be able to do this with you is wicked. As a motorsports fan, I feel very privileged to have this time. So yeah, so what we're going to do is I'll start drawing. So then if you just want to, you can start off. Yeah, how did you get in, because obviously your dad's been in motorsport all his life as well. So how did it all how did you connect with that? What's kind of your earliest memory almost of being motorsport is going to be a Neal family thing as such?
Okay, I mean probably my first motorsport memory, because my dad raced for, his main thing was BMC with the BMC team, Cooper car team, so minis in the 60s. And then he sort of got into other things like chevrons and that, but he was mainly a mini-man, and his career was really finished when, one, the Ford Escort came out and started blowing the minis away, and two, he had a big accident at the Nürburgring on the Nordschleife. And I can remember I'd have been 2 or 3 years old, and I can remember some guys bringing him home. It was before, medical stuff we have these days, and they brought him home, and he was all bandaged up, and he got patches over his eyes, and he could hardly stand up, and they propped him against the front door, rang the doorbell, and legged it.
What?
And got him in, and they lay him down in his bed, and I remember standing at the bottom of his bed, and he just was motionless, and that's my first motorsport memory, if I'm honest. But then he got out of motorsport and started his own business, Steve Neal Accessories, and then he went into 100+ wheels. And we went to the odd race. He'd take me to a couple of Grand Prix when it was at Brands Hatch still. And Silverstone, I can remember me and mate, he put us in the boot to try and sneak us in without paying. And then we went to the British Trophy at Silverstone when it was still ploughed fields in the middle. So when the cars went off, they used to have to get a tractor to pull them out. But I mean, I loved it. I can remember going to Walton Park and queuing up for the autographs. With Gordon Spice, Jerry Marshall, Stuart Graham, all the greats and the Capris in the 70s.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd get there, really. I mean, I've always been big into sport, and I've always, I pestered my dad for a car, not a proper racing car, it was just something to play on in the field. And then a motorbike. And we'd just be up from dawn till dusk, tinkering, and I remember we had a old motorbike and the throttle broke, and so you couldn't get spares, so we just got a pair of mole grips on the throttle, and that's the way you went along, and who could do the wheelie the longest. And then I got big into rugby, obviously because I'm not the smallest cat on the block.
Because you're what, 6'4"?
6.
6'6", and being a very tall racing driver isn't the most, when you're trying to fit into something, isn't the most I'm trying to think of a way of being tall and in a race car isn't always the best kind of combination, is it?
No, I mean, one thing is your height, but two is your weight. You've got to watch your weight. I mean, obviously, I always said Formula route was never for me because of my size, but then, when I got to know Justin Wilson well, he was only an inch shorter than me, but he was a skinny lad. God bless him. And then I always said I wouldn't be able to be an inch taller than I am. And then I had the pleasure of meeting Dusan Borkovic, the Serbian driver in World Touring Cars a couple of years ago, and he's 6'10".
Jeez.
His wife is only a couple of inches shorter than me, but they're a great couple. They're good fun. But then I got into rugby, and I was sort of doing that at school and county level. But my heart was in motorised stuff. I just wanted to race, and so much so was when I was 17, I passed my driving test. I got a trailer, and I saved up because I've been working in the holidays, and bought a motocross bike, a CR250 Honda. So it was in there right from the beginning.
Yeah, on brand there, straight from the get-go.
And I went racing, and then I got nominated for an England trial, schoolboy trial. And I can remember you used to have to go away for a week at that point, or it was 5 days. And at the end of this trial, they give you an interview to assess your aptitude and what you're about, and and I just sat in this interview and said, well, I'm not interested. I just want to go racing. And now, you idiot, there's nothing made me prouder than if I had got the opportunity, just one opportunity at running on a pitch with an England shirt on, but maybe I wasn't good enough. And I've had a good crack anyway along my way. So I got into bikes, and I went off racing motocross for 4 years. But the problem with motocross, I wasn't really good enough. I was brave enough, but I wasn't good enough. So I kept on having the odd tumble and ended up in hospital. So when I was 21, my dad got a car just to get me away from the bikes.
It was like, this is what you need to be on 4 wheels.
Yeah, and it wasn't, touring cars, we're going touring car racing, or that's the aspiration of it. It was just to get me away from the bikes. And then he knew someone, an old friend of his, Jeff Goodliff, up in Rochdale. He'd been running Fiestas, and we got the business going again at that point. Well, my dad's business went bust when I was on my 18th birthday. And taking shape, mate.
So there's the outline. That was what, 5 minutes or so. So obviously got the wing. So you start, kind of got the in there. It'll look a little bit foreshortened because the pay of how these are. It's kind of, wheels are slightly bigger and slightly foreshortened. But there's the start. So now
the CFD's looking good.
Yeah, it's looking aggressive, which is what it should look like, isn't it? So yeah, it's looking alright. So motocross. Your dad was like, "I'm going to buy you a car," so you got yourself a race car.
Yeah, and then I went racing in Fiestas, and there was a whole bunch of us. We used to come back with pieces of each other's cars. So I can remember my dad walking around the car. Have you done this dent? Have you done that dent? And in the furore of racing, you don't know. Because it all kicks off. I can remember my very first race ever, circuit race, was at Snetterton, and it was the older Snetterton when it was a bit more flat out, and it was at a time in Fiesta racing was the one make class, so there were 65 cars.
Whoa.
Trying to. So you qualify odds and evens in 2 different qualifying sessions, and then the slowest 35 would go into a qualification race, and then the top 5 home in that would qualify for the back of the grid, the main race. So I qualified on the front row of the grid in the qualification race. Never done a start, never done anything. And it's a 3x2x3 grid, so it's a lot more compacted than we have. People will see in BTCC. Anyway, the lights went out, and we head down to the first corner, round the second corner, and then you were then onto a big long back straight. In the furore of usual one-make racing, everyone hitting each other. I find myself in the lead after turn 2, foot buried into the throttle, halfway down the straight, and then we all get nervous. I got nervous, and sort of halfway down the straight, my right leg, which is buried into the throttle, starts to quiver with nerves, and it starts to go so much. I actually take my hand off the steering wheel to hold my knee down, and it took, my foot came off the accelerator. I went from 1st to 10th place. So I came past the pits. It was before TV and everything, so my dad could hear this over the tannoy, as could the others. I came past the finish line on end of the first lap to see my dad shaking his fist at me. It was a sight I was going to have to get used to for a few years thereafter. He was pretty good at it. But I managed to get back into the top 5 and qualify for the back of the main race anyway, and to cause a bit more damage.
What did your dad... Yeah, like when you said to your dad, I got nervous and... that's why I lifted off. What did he say to you? What was his reaction to that when he heard that?
Ian, I can't remember. People say that, but it's a long time ago. So, I know I was in the a bit for a while. So, but it wasn't the first time he threw his clipboard on the floor.
But yeah, that was a learning curve. So you got better. You learned from that.
You know something? I did 2 years of one make series, and I think I pushed my boys into doing one make series, and you got some hard, aggressive drivers, Josh Cooks, Jack Goffs, just to name 2, who come up through the one make route. And what it does, I believe, it teaches you spatial awareness, racecraft, because it is like mini touring cars. The cars are very even. You've got to look backwards as well as looking forwards. You've got to know how to defend as well as to attack, and it's a very frenetic environment you're in. Some of the guys, Jean-Christophe Bouillon, when he came back from Formula 1 to touring cars, and you just straight up his inside, take his door handle off, and he'd get the ache with you, and you go, well, just wake up.
That's racing, yeah.
You're not down the inside, then you better defend, because that's what's going to happen. And he struggled to get his head around it. But when the cute guys, I think, come up through the one make route.
And they're the one, and obviously they're the ones that you're racing with. They've come through a similar route to you, and you're now and they've probably watched you race over the years as well. Like as watching you race from the 30 years that you've been doing it.
Yeah, it's like me looking up to Rouse and Soper and Cleland and all the other guys, and I was lucky enough to race against them for a while, and that was a real buzz. And now I'm the one to be shot down, and now they're a pain in my side.
I mean, that kind of era, that kind of Super Tour era, and I mean, obviously a lot people at my age, that was the touring cars of the day. So how do you remember? Do you remember it fondly? Do you kind of go, oh, I wish it was a bit more like that? Or because I mean, those cars were like, every car was manufacturer backed, wasn't it? And it was just there were a lot of money to run.
They were. I mean, I got asked to drive one of the Nissans, which Danny Wheeler owns, a couple of years ago, just to see what I felt like. And you forget what they were like, because they were very advanced. They were very expensive. One of the beauties of them, they were very light. You were 9,500 kilos. When now we're 1.25 tons.
Right.
So when we jumped into an S2000 car, which is more or less the next regs on, after BTC. One, they were slower in a straight line, but two, they were heavy. And then NGTC, which is what we've got now, are heavier again. So I likened an NGTC car like you're trying to haul up an oil tanker in comparison. The Super Tourers were very nimble, very agile to change direction. Which is one of the problems you've got now, is when you commit to a corner, you're committed. You've got a lot of weight and inertia going that direction. And so, some of the contacts, if someone chooses to defend when you've already committed, you can't get out of it. You can't back out of it.
Yeah, so as much as it on the TV, it might look like, it's a note, but actually you might have pre-planned that well before the person in front of you was doing whatever they're doing, so...
Yeah, and then you go back to the Super Touring. They're great cars to drive, but it was an incredibly unfair era and category. You weren't allowed this because the speed of development was so fast that the manufacturers and the tyre. It was a big tyre war till the late 90s. So you'd have Dunlops v Yokeys, v Michelin's, v Pirellis, and if you weren't on the right tyre and the right year, forget it. And you'd even have your factory tyres and then non-factory tyres. There was an independent team, you weren't allowed the same tyres. And then I can remember at one point Michelin were making their teams, because they couldn't keep up with the development fast enough, they were making their teams nominate their number one and their number two driver, and their number one driver would get tyres that the number two wouldn't, and he'd be faster and everyone would go, he's a genius, but he just got
better tyres. So yeah,
the first year, Alan changed the regs, Gow changed the regs, and he put up this big prize fund of 250 grand to win a race, and he insured against it, and it was a 30 grand premium term, which we found out afterwards. It's a shame, because I'd like to have taken more money out of Gow's pocket, but anyway, but what he failed to tell the insurance people is he was changing the regs, so the independents for 99 would, for the first time, get the same tyres as the factory cars.
Right.
First meeting we won. So.
And that was in the Primera. Was that the? That was it was P10 or P11 Primera, yeah. With the 100 livery, the kind of the iconic that iconic livery was on it.
Yeah, the problem was then is that didn't suit Nissan, because they wanted us up there embarrassing other factory teams, but they didn't want us up there having a go at their factory team. Okay. And we immediately had our engines turned down and everything. So that was the last race I won in '99, which was a shame, because it was a great car that year, and we had they used to use Nissan then. It was all with RML and Advanced Engineering Services, I think, for the engines, and they used to use Dynamics as a bit of a stick to poke the factory cars with. So we used to use a different engine supplier, and all, which is International Engine Services, Graham Dale Jones and Dave Hill, great guys, very clever guys. Dave Hill's now at Manching.
Oh, right, okay.
So when we had our wings clipped soon after that, and that sort of slowed us down a bit. So they would sort of give us a bit more, give us a bit less, just to try and keep us in our position, which was sort of back end of the top 10, which suited them. We always wanted more, obviously. So
Dynamics is obviously that's the family company. So tell us more about how. So it's based over a kind of North Birmingham way, Droitwich way. It's obviously now with the Honda Association with Honda. So how has that developed as a team, and how's that kind of like? It's obviously now you're one of the top teams at the pokey end of the grid most of the time. So how is that? Particularly with Honda, how's that? You've had a number of generations of Civics that you've developed, as well as racing. You've raced for other brands and other teams. How did the Dynamics and Honda relationship kind of cement itself?
Okay, if I wheel it back a bit, at the end of Super Touring, the BTC reg started, and I got a drive with Peugeot, and it sort of got stillborn. They ran out of sponsorship, so I was ended up with nothing. And Dynamics had still got the Nissan Primera, So we went off, and the European touring cars were still running to super touring rigs. So I got a few drives in Aussie V8s that year, down with Paul Morris, that's another story that is altogether. He's a bit of a legend down there. And we went off to do some racing in Europe, which was great fun, real good. Made some good friends out there, a few enemies, who then became friends. And then I got at the end of the year, Europe was going S2000, so we hadn't got an S2000 car, and I thought I got nothing, and I was literally just sat at home, and the phone rang, and it was Ian Harrison saying, "Do you want to come and drive one of the egg Vauxhalls?" Which I think you've got Paul O'Neill on later on, so it was my team for, would have been '02. So I went off and did that, and that was great. Thought I had a good year, thought that was all set, and then Egg pulled the sponsorship at the end of the year, and again I was left with nothing, so I thought, oh, well, that's it, it's all over, your career's going down the pan, and what can you do? And then again I got another phone call out of the blue, which was from Mike Earl, who was running the Honda team at that point, the factory Honda team at Arena. And so I went down to see him with teammates with Alan Morrison and Tom Chilton. And that was good. And they put a contract to me where you get a wage, and then you'd also get a win bonus, which Honda was big into at that point. And we sort of haggled over for a few weeks over the contract and agreed it in the end. And then a week later, I went down to sign it, and they went, we've had a problem, that we've had some budget pulled, so we can't pay you now. We can only pay you the win bonus. I went, no, I've got to pay my mortgage. I need a guarantee. I said, look, as a compromise, we can just pay me the retainer and forget the win bonus. Anyway, bugger me, we only won 6 races that year, which would have doubled my wage. But I knew what I was getting, and I was happy. So it's one of those say la vie, you could look back. But that was 03 with Arena was where I started with Honda, and then unfortunately Honda pulled the plug at that point. There was they just moved direction of what they wanted to do. I think they needed more money for everything else, and Formula One at that point with BAR. Yeah. And the Halfords money was hovering around with Danny Eves, which Vic Lee. And my dad had spoken to Vic, and he sort of did a deal with Vic to take on the Halford sponsorship and then buy the 2 Hondas, which Alan Morrison and I had been running in Arena, and pull them out of Arena and run them in Dynamics with Halford sponsorship with me and Denny. And we did that 04, and then they were looking. It was my dad, to be fair. The EP3 was quick, but it was a bit fragile. And so they looked. We hadn't got any real backing from Honda at that point, so we were just looking for the fastest thing we could, which was, we looked on paper and it was the Integra, the D5, and I was a bit anti it, and I wanted to stay with what Honda UK were doing and all the rest of it. And my dad was the one pushing it. Anyway, he pushed it, and we went with the Integra, and it was the best thing we ever did. It brought me 2 championships, and then we got a relationship with Honda after that, with Paul Ormond, who was head of PR at that point, because the touring car racing doesn't come under marketing, it comes under PR.
Right.
Or it historically has done. So he helped us a little bit, and we managed to get some sponsorship. We got Halfords on board, and then we got CompuTeach, which was an online training company, and then we sort of, we sell ourselves to everybody. But we created a business model back in the 90s with Max Power, which is when we won the big cash in 98, 99. And Max Power back then, it was a cult.
Oh yeah, it was like the car culture magazine. Yeah, like it was the thing that.
And if Max Power endorsed something, it sold.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So what we did is we approached advertisers in there. And we had a Max Power. We got Max Power to title sponsor the team for very little. But then we went to advertisers to be on the Max Power car and to get one over on the other ICE suppliers. We built it up in that way. So when Halfords came along, because that worked very well, when Halfords came along, we reversed the business model. So then we approached suppliers who wanted to have better space. We couldn't affect trading or pricing, but we created a Racing Heroes brand in shop, which would morph to the front of the shops and everything, and people's product sales went through the roof, and that's why the Halfords relationship took off so well. So then we just stayed with Halfords till end of 07, 08 probably, when I went off to the dark side with Vauxhall for a bit. When I was racing in Europe, I had a bit of a run-to with, there's an Italian, Fabrizio Giovanardi, who was a factory Alfa driver then.
Yeah.
And Fabrizio comes across as this sort of affable, laid-back Italian. He is far from it. Well, they all are. Tarquini, Giovanardi, Larini, they've got the most rage. You know, they say Italian temperament, and they are maniacs. When they go, they go. They're like spinning tops. Anyway, I had a bit of a dust-up over the season with Giovanardi in Europe. It came to a bit of a head. We went to Herama, and he bashed my car everywhere, and I was a bit fed up with it. So, big drivers briefing, all the team managers in there, and Fabrizio, his English was pretty poor at that point. I waited for him after the drivers briefing at the exit, and I went to him, best of luck this weekend, and just do me a favour, stay away from me. Just don't touch my car, stay away from me, because if you come at me, I'm going to come back at you. And if I don't get you on circuit, I'm going to come find you in the paddock, and I'm going to get you. And he's going, he doesn't really... Anyway, Monica Sitz, who's the team manager, pretty blonde team manager, she understood completely. She told him. Suddenly, wow, it all kicks off and everything. Anyway, before the lights went out on the grid, he qualified 2 rows behind me on the grid.
I feel this is going to turn into something. Like, I'm excited to hear what happens next.
I saw the underneath of his car as he's coming over the top of mine before and he just jumped the start and smashed. I mean, my Nissan was in pieces, and I was obviously enraged, and I couldn't find him afterwards. So then we went to Estoril, and we didn't really sort of speak. And then the next time I saw him, he turned up driving Vauxhall in 07. And he comes up to me because he knows no one in the UK at this point. So I'm sort of an old face he knows, and he comes up like a long lost friend, and I'm going, well, bygones be bygones. And we were best friends from then on. So we had a real fun time together in those 2 years with Vauxhall. He had such a temper. It used to make me laugh. And Mickey Sargent, who used to do all the electronics and everything for 888 Vauxhall at that point, I was trying to get him to rig up camera recording system inside the back of the truck in the offices to film Fabrizio, because I was going to put it on YouTube, because it was absolutely hilarious. Some of the kickoffs he had, it was immense.
So proper Italian temperament. It was like, kind of, just flare up for if you didn't like it.
Just a bit. His temper was amazing. It was proper good. But they're all like that, Gabriele Tarquini. You cross Gabriele, not a problem. And it doesn't matter whether has to wait 1 race, 10 races, 1 year or 10 years. He will get you back. It's twice as worse.
So Dynamics was still running you were essentially racing against your father's team, your family's team then, when you were... Yeah. And how was that? Like, how was that? I mean, now it would seem quite bizarre, like odd now.
I found it pretty easy. We were trying stuff out of Vauxhalls with seamless shift gearboxes and all the rest of it. And I just didn't speak about race when we were out away. We didn't speak about racing to my dad or anything. So I didn't find it a problem. I just got on with it, and I might say hello in the paddock, but I was committed to Vauxhall at that point. Then Vauxhall pulled out at the end of 09. Seems to be a bit of a habit of manufacturers of me. But then Honda, Paul Allmond helped out with Ten and Dave Hodgetts, who's the MD who'd come across with Honda from Honda Manufacturing. He'd come in, and he was very proactive, and he's a great guy. And so he sort of helped us out a bit in 10, and that's when we sort of started to get going. In 10, that's when we really started to get going with the S2000 car, with the FN2 Civic Type R.
Yeah, so that's the more which that isn't the bread van one. That's the second gen, which is like a more like a hatchbacky one, isn't it? I think I've got a...
Yeah, EP3 in the early noughties, and then it went to the FN2, which was a little bit of a bigger version of it. And then, sort of FK2 went bigger again. They're all the cars. It's like you look at an old Mini to a new Mini. You put it inside the new Mini.
Yeah.
You don't realise. And, I said to these guys, well, we need to bring back those little small cars. That'd be great. Did he? But they can't do with the safety regulations, I'm told. So, we've got so many safety regulations we've got to abide by these days. So you then went on to develop the Hondas, and to the FK8 now. So I mean, I was very lucky to be able to go around your factory and where you do it. It's an amazing place to go, to see. And you've got some historics you're doing now as well. So how to kind of present day. So the car, obviously new livery for this year. In terms of your kind of touring car career and your highlights, what are the key what are the ones that kind of stand out? You go, oh, that was that race. I mean, obviously with the 60th anniversary win, and where all the cars didn't have, you were all like a level playing field. There was no weight ballast. What's been your highlight? What makes you go, right, I still want to be out there racing and in there with in that pack? What makes it for you? What keeps you going, I want to race? Yeah, they talk about highlights, and that 60th anniversary win, I don't think any of us drivers realised what such a big deal it was. It was only when Alan brought out the trophy at the end, I went, oh, it's pretty cool. And you stood on there. I just approached it like any other race. It was great. I mean, now I look back on it, wow. Well, I didn't really expect it. It was a bit of a nerve-wracking race. Highlights in my career, I'd say, you always remember the first one, don't you? Like your first kiss. Oh, I can remember my first kiss. The first one in '99, obviously, we got 250 grand for the pleasure of that. First championship win, but then the last championship win in the FN2 for me was special. But stuff, as you get older, it's the ultimate touring car drive for me of all time, and it's close between them all. But I think it's Steve Soper because I think he's the ultimate team player. He wasn't always the fastest, but man, he was a good guy to have in your team. And I went to I'd won an award for BMW when we were running them in Group N in the early 90s, and I got invited to Munich to an awards dinner. And the then head of motorsport, Heinz Karfels, stood up and he was describing his BMW motorsport factory drivers at that point, and he goes, Joachim Winkelhock, he warms to the hearts of the crowds, and Chicotto, he is a thinking racer, and Ravaglia, and he says, Soper, he said, is like the English terrier, where he bites hard into the bone and does not let go. And that is Steve. Who should be born out with John Clennon can bear that out from what happened in
that famous race. But that was when it was Clennon in the Vauxhall, and then it was the BMW one, and they had like some jostling, and then is it Sober who took out Clennon? They took out each other, didn't they?
Yeah, there's always two sides of the argument. So it's but it was an iconic. I think that would if you put iconic races down in history, I think that was the most iconic race. Three guys could have won the championship. There was Will Hoy in the Toyota at that point. Tim in the BMW did win it, and John in the Vauxhall. The stage was set. It was going to kick off, and man, it did. It was the ultimate thing. But that didn't finish for months afterwards. It went on and on and on. But Steve was a great guy to have, and he still would be. I'd love to see him in a modern day touring car, and John, get him back for a bit of a legends race.
See if they've got some unsettled business still following that race.
Well, you watch Clennon, and he's got his super touring Vauxhall. He comes out, and he's still, and you see him down at Goodwood. You see Soper in the Cortina now, and GT40s and all that sort of stuff. they're pretty on it still. They've lost none of their aggression.
Because that's another thing that Dynamics are doing as well. You're developing the kind of historic side of things in historic racing as well.
Yeah, we sort of went with tried to specialise a bit in cortiners, and then we did some cortiners for Steve. I like to think we got some Mike Jordan and Andy Jordan. They pulled some pretty good historic stuff together, but I like to feel we can put something close to matching them. And then we just look at all the other stuff in, really. So it's just we're not just a one-shot pony. So one-trick pony, wasn't it? That's the phrase I was looking for.
Okay. Yeah.
But you use Barry Plowman, who's our chief engineer, our engineering director. He's pretty cute on cars through the ages. He's been around for a while as well.
So in terms of like continued bucket list kind of stuff, is there anything that you go, right, I still want to achieve that? Is there anything when you line up on the grid? I mean, the interesting thing, you said, do you still get nervous when you're lining up on the grid after all these after so much experience? Do you still have that nervy start, or?
Yeah, of course you do. Well, I do. I always think if you don't get nervous, you're not hungry enough. And I think nerves are healthy. They put you on the edge. And if you're not nervous, I don't get nervous for the race. I get nervous because I don't want to make a mistake. And there's a fine line you walk between looking a genius and looking an idiot. Yeah. Because you've got to go for a gap, or you've got to. Your car's going to be slow to start with, or it depends on all the different tyre strategies we have and don't have now with weights and tyres and compounds. But one thing I said I'd be sad if I didn't do it, and I doubt I will do it now, is if I didn't do Le Mans, because it's just such an iconic race.
Just amazing, isn't it? Just
everything. I've had opportunities over the years, but it's always been wrong time. The calendar's conflicted, or you needed to take sponsorship, and I didn't have the sponsorship. And then now I'm at an age where, because I'm not, with my size and my height, I've got to be a bit picky of cars I jump in and don't jump in. And will I do it? Maybe if I don't, I haven't had a bad crack of the whip anyway, so I can't really complain. But I suppose that's one I would have liked to have done. A lot of, I've done Spa, I've done Nürburgring, I've done Bathurst. So I've done some iconic racing.
And I think what's very present about touring car drivers is their family with them as well. And it's more than just a job as such. It's that involvement beyond that. I've always thought about that.
Yeah, I remember I was racing down in Australia in the V8s, near on 20 years ago now, and you used to see the people down there, and the husband would be in full race kit, then the wife, then the son, and then the daughter, and it was like Russian dolls. You could all put them one inside each other because they all looked like mini me's. And there's a little bit of that, but you say the family, the fun. I think touring car racing, which I think is a good thing, it's become a little bit tribal. You get the fans, you get Jason's fans, you get the Honda fans, and I've been walking across the circuit at 7:30 in the morning, and I've had no end of abuse from Jason's fans in the past, which you've got to laugh about. It's quite funny, but they have a go at you. So a bit of a sledging. But I think that's what it's all about. I think that adds to the atmosphere. Brands Hatch is one of my favourite circuits. The Indy side, because of the atmosphere the fans give off, which is why it's going to be a little bit of a strange place in August when we start. God willing, we do start then. I always think if you go to a circuit after the day after, because we've done some car launches with Honda and stuff the day after a race meeting, it's a bit like returning to the scene of a battleground.
Yeah, totally.
It's very quiet, very eerie, because you haven't got all that madness and furore around. And you're going to have all the race teams and it all kicking off, but it's going to be quite a surreal atmosphere without fans there in August. So that's going to be a new one for us all.
Yeah, I think, like I say, that's what kind of that kind of amphitheatre with people watch it, particularly at brands where you've got that kind of people looking down on the track and the car, it is, and you're looking down into the paddocks, and it's kind of, it has that. It's a bit like when we had Rockingham. Like Rockingham had that similar, maybe not in the same kind of brands as that special thing, but the heritage. But when you can see all the kind of the drivers getting into the cars and going out on track, it's that something's beginning and an event's happening. That's always what really, really excites me.
Yeah, it's just because you say fans want to see you, but for fans want to sled you as well. That's half the crack. You go to a football match. That's half the crack, and it's going to be a different atmosphere for all. But I mean, the great thing is we're going racing.
Yeah.
And everyone can see TV still, so that's the main thing. That ITV4 are behind it. We've got to keep on. The world's going to keep on going round.
Yeah, in a slightly different way than we thought it would be this year. But I think we're pretty much a little bit longer. But the touring cars always take longer because there's loads of branding.
I can't tell the difference between that and the real photo. It's amazing.
It's we're nearly there. So I'm gonna. So this is number 229. So hopefully you'll be able to see that. Ta-da!
That's amazing. You can do it for a living,
I should do, shouldn't I? I should knock the paint on the head and just do this. But whilst I can't do the painting because there's no touring, there's no racing for me to go and create at. This is very much and being able to create in front of you and find out about your history and with Honda and everything that's been. I'll remember it. It'll be one of my memories for sure. So, and then these are all going to feature in a book as well. So there'll be a book that I'm publishing with all the artworks. But these Hondas will be a part of that. So that's on Crowdfunder at the moment, which is Crowdfunder continuous-wheels. And I'll get photos of these uploaded ASAP, so you can kind of see them not via a video. You can see them as a photo. So.
Cheers, mate. That's one of the things I've loved about working and driving with Honda is the people. It's all about the people and the people you get to meet. And I've got to meet over the years with Honda. They don't do it because it's a job. They do it because it's a passion, and they're passionate about the product. And it's not just cars that Honda make. It's engines, it's bikes, it's mowers, it's generators, it's everything. So there's boats. And I've got to play in a fair few. I haven't had to go on the mean mower. I've kept well off that, but I don't fit in it.
Because the mean mower is one of yours as well, isn't it? That's a Dynamics developed piece of kit.
I had to go in one of their outboard speed, race boats, and I just needed to know the name of a good chiropractor when I finished in that because you get pretty good bashing. But the people there just, what people may not realise is. When they talk to them, they are incredibly passionate and caring about the products and the people who drive them and ride them. So, and that's wonderful to be around those sort of people.
Well, it's big day, for the guys at Honda for arranging all this and making it happen. It's really been really exciting to do the new products and a range of products. And thank you so much. And as I say, this will all be on the social, so on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the it'll be seen.